Okay, so we will call to order the meeting of the Board of Directors. Can we get roll call, please?
Yes. Ms. Atkins. Mrs. McDaniel. Mrs. Peterson. Mrs. Shuffle.
Here.
Mr. Sorensen.
Here.
Mr. Sturm.
Here.
And Mr. Wright.
Here.
And I'll just make a note that Ms. Peterson is coming. She is interviewing with the Iowa or the LCEA. She's doing her deal right now, so she'll be walking in here pretty soon. The other two are out of town. So.
Okay. Approval of the October 20th, 2025 agenda. Can I get a motion to approve, please?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Vote, please.
Okay. So Mrs. Shuffle.
Yes.
Mr. Sorensen.
Yes.
Mr. Sturm.
Yes.
And Mr. Wright.
Yes. Commendations, good news.
So I'm just going to start this meeting not with good news. I think that the Lewis Central community, a lot of the Lewis Central community knows by now that we had a student this weekend that was involved in a horrible traffic accident, and at this moment, I think it's appropriate for Hayden Baker, who's a senior for us right now, who is beloved in the district, and we want to make sure that we honor him and his family as they're going through a fight right now, just with a quick moment of silence. And then, so again, this is about the worst news that can happen, but I think it's appropriate for us to, show our support and be there, with him while he's battling, so. Okay, thank you for that time. Again, we're rooting for you, Hayden. So a couple things that we do have going on throughout the district. Obviously, it's kind of end of fall sports season, so we'll do a big wrap up as soon as all the sports are done, so we can just do it all at once. But I know that everything is heading in the right direction. We have our football team should qualify for the playoffs, and if we do, we'll be the scariest 14 seed team that's out there that anybody would ever want to face. So, that our last game is this Friday night, home with TJ, and then the next week will be playoffs, and we'll be on the road somewhere, but they sure won't like to see us roll into town. We'll be a very scary opponent. First round games are usually supposed to be pretty easy for those top seeded teams. We've had 4 really close losses to good teams, and so us rolling in will be quite a shock to whoever ends up getting us. So that's football. Volleyball this week, actually it's tomorrow night is our first district round game. I can't remember if they're districts or regionals. Everything's different between boys and girls, but so that'll kickstart our road to state. Swimming, last week we had an amazing meet, got second to Sioux City, who's probably one of the best teams in the entire state. In fact, went back and forth, led them a lot of the time. And we ended up having quite a few PRs, so that's good. That's the way we want to do it, is kind of hit our stride as we head off to state. Tennis is wrapped up. We've already talked about tennis a little bit. The fall play is in full swing. Our band is doing phenomenally well this year. They just wrapped up with state this last weekend, and I think that they have 2 competitions. Did I read that right? In one day.
Yeah, I think they had 2 in one day.
They went to Glenwood in the morning and then turned around and went up to Vermillion, South Dakota, and then won that as well. So, you know, that's crazy. So what a long day for kids and parents, but you know, that's no better way to finish out the year than to do something like that. So amazing accomplishments for them. Show choir's in full swing. We just had our first vocal concert last week. That went phenomenally well as well. Really just kind of rolling. Middle school sports wrapped up as well. We had I think both our football teams went undefeated. Our volleyball teams, I think, won their end of the year tournaments. Cross country won the Hawkeye 10, and then we also, one of the girls won the individual Hawkeye 10. So just really cooking when it comes to our extracurriculars, as always, which is to be expected. And then, you know, academically, I know we've started to do some classroom visits. We just have some very, very talented staff members and teachers. The things they're doing in their classroom, from just the new literacy curriculum and math curriculum that we've implemented, to the CTE teachers, to walking in and seeing some really, really exciting and cool STEM lessons. You know, it's fun. It's fun to walk through buildings and to get to see our staff do what they do best. And so that's kind of the highlights for right now.
Any other additional commendations or good news?
The trunk or treat thing.
Oh, yeah.
That was a huge
Trunk or
hit.
treat.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you to Marcia Wright and the PTA for putting that on for us. It was, I don't even know, in the thousands, right? Thousands of kids came through. I mean,
It was a little over 1,000 kids.
yeah, I mean, that's incredible. So I know we had probably 2,000 visitors to our bus, our spooky bus. So, but it was quite the night. So thank you for all the volunteers that put that on. We do have conferences coming up. That's exciting. And then I know the PTA always helps out with that as well. So thank you again to the PTA for all the work that you do for our students and our staff.
And I'll give a shout out to the Booster Club also, because working in those concession stands at a football game, well, you learn how to sling a hot dog pretty quick with them.
Yeah.
Did you guys talk
Yeah.
about the 7th and 8th graders
Yep.
being undefeated?
Yeah,
Okay.
both going undefeated, yeah.
That was awesome.
Yeah, no, the Booster Club, they obviously, I mean, huge integral part of what we do here, and we wouldn't have a lot of things. Our students wouldn't be as supportive in their, I mean, I really attribute a lot of our success to the work that the Booster Club puts in. I mean, their efforts, you know, provide facilities and equipment and uniforms and make our kids feel good. And, you know, when you look good, you feel good, you play good. So that's a lot of what the Booster Club does for us. Besides just slinging hot dogs and those types of things, they also do a lot of our advertisement work. They do, I mean, it's the auction they do at the end of the year. So they're constantly pushing for bigger, better, more, and it's definitely appreciated. Otherwise, you would see kids coming home all the time with fundraisers. So thank the Booster Club, come to games, buy their hot dogs that Bubba's making for them. So,
That's it.
but we do have another shout out to the LCEF. They just awarded, I think, close to almost $20,000 or $16,000 worth of classroom grants that they're going to wrap up and award just for this fall session. They had 42 applicants, and I think they went through and awarded a lot of those. They were able to. Their transition of taking over LCLC, the daycare portion, has helped them get some additional funds to be able to do a little bit more. Megan Conklin's doing a fantastic job as the new director. She's, been more of an LCLC director so far, but they're starting to get, that kind of in the swing and going, so that way she's able to do more foundation type stuff. This Friday, the foundation will do their Kick to Win challenge. So at the football game, they've done the last few years. So that is, you can purchase a chance to win one of the 5 slots to try to win the field goal kicking contest, and you can win a $250 gift card to Amazon. So it's pretty awesome. And again, all of that money goes right back to the school. So
Any other commendations, good news? Okay, then we will move on to comments and suggestions. This is the first portion of our meeting where we open the floor or open the floor to our online public to see if they have any issues that they'd like to share with the board.
We've got a few viewers, so let's wait a minute or two.
Okay, we'll give it a minute.
I did want to point out publicly, if anybody's out there and wondering who this young gentleman is sitting over here, and Director or Andrea Reyes is Mrs. Reyes' seat. This is Gabe Wagner. Mrs. Reyes is out of district today, so Gabe is our token note taker for the evening. So.
Token. We good? Okay. We will move on to consent agenda. And do we have an updated personnel sheet?
Yes.
Okay.
Good job, Mr. Wagner.
Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Vote, please.
Mr. Sturman,
Yes.
Mrs. Peterson,
Yes.
Mrs. Shuffle,
Yes.
Mr. Sorensen,
Yes.
and Mr. Wright.
Yes. Reports, 6.01, curriculum and instruction report with Dr. Hartman.
Okay, so this is just a quick update, just to bring you up to speed again as far as the goals and what DLT has done with goals. Last time, we had identified the priorities but hadn't turned them into SMART goals. So I'm going to show you that, and then just showing you how we're trying to get like the oars rowing together in some of our different areas. And then next time we'll go a little bit deeper with some things that we're doing with literacy. But again, this is kind of how we start district leadership team, just by showing them this visual just of how things trickle down as we go here. So again, thanks. Last time, we shared that DLT had selected 2 priority areas, that the board had given us several, and we picked these 2, literacy and student behavior. So since then, we've done a lot to try to align things with DLT, BLT, our instructional coaches, and our admin team. So I'm going to highlight what that's looked like lately, and Dr. Hazing referenced some of it with our admin team and getting to walk in classrooms. So in our district leadership team, we looked at some of the things that we're already doing with literacy, some of the things that we're already doing with student behavior, talked a little bit about some gaps, and then we also talked about like lead and lag measures. We read a book a couple years ago called The 4 Disciplines of Execution that was really helpful to us just in thinking about like how do you measure some of these things, and like how do you measure them as you go, so you're not just waiting till the end of the year and you see that state assessment and it's like, oh, but what are some things that we could like push on along the way, and if those aren't going well, do something different before we get to the end. So we kind of use that thinking to springboard us into then thinking about what could our SMART goal be. So I do want to say, though, it's up there as a draft. This was at the end of our meeting. They worked really hard to get these goals, but the other half of the room didn't give feedback yet. So we'll go through a process of feedback and then really solidify those. So this is just first round draft, but you can see we're thinking, obviously we're kind of building the airplane in the air right now with coming up with these goals. So while we'll do what we can to kind of do some integrating this year, but it'll really be like full on, for next year. So that's what the date you'll see is we're thinking 2 years right now initially. So for literacy, we'll want to see that we have consistent Tier 1 literacy practices. So again, Tier 1 is what are all kids going to get? That everything's aligned to our district's literacy framework that we're developing. And that overall, our state and district literacy assessment proficiency would be at least 80% at every grade level. So we have 80% in some grade levels on some assessments, but not all of them. So that's the goal, is that 80% of our kids would be proficient on all of those assessments. And then on the behavior side, this one gets tricky just because there's so many different ways to think about and measure behavior, but we thought ultimately it'd be great if our major referrals decrease. And then we thought about like, what's a realistic number for that? And the principals agreed that 10% seems manageable, seems like something that could be done if they could decrease the number of major referrals. So DLT will monitor some of the things along the way that can help support us, just looking at some of that walkthrough data, climate survey data, positive communication data. So again, drafts, but as we finalize those, that's really going to give us kind of the through line then to continue to do some things with our coaches, with our admin, with our teachers, as those go into play a little bit more. So here, we started with student behavior as an admin team, because that one is a little bit easier to create some look-fors with. We, as you guys know, have been working with the Danielson framework, so it just gives us some language when it comes to different instructional pieces. So there is a Danielson component. It's 2D. It's called Managing Student Behavior. It has a rubric, so you're looking at things from basic all the way up to distinguished. So we got together, all of the principals and assistant principals, Dr. Hazing was there as well. Spent a whole day. We went to Kreft and Titan Hill, and we used that rubric, and we just started to look for things. We split up into teams of about 3. We'd spend about 10 minutes in a classroom, and then we'd spend about 10 minutes debriefing as a group. And then we would submit that feedback, we'd score it, submit that to a teacher, and then also give some written feedback to the teacher about what we saw in the classroom. And then it's kind of fun too, like at the end of the day, the whole admin team will kind of debrief and just talk about like, how did that go for you? Like, were there any hang-ups using the rubrics? What were some highlights you guys saw? And then the really cool part is then at our admin meeting last week, we took all that data and then we just started looking through the data, and we did the same thing that we asked teachers to do in their PLCs. So we were this professional learning community looking at the data, asking ourselves those same questions about, you know, what do we do when there's pockets where people need more support? What do we do when people already know it and things are going great? And just thinking through like what would be some good next steps for us. So we've got some good ideas. However, Wednesday, we're gonna do the secondary school, so we're gonna do middle school and high school. So after we look at that data, then we'll be a little bit more transparent about here's some of our next steps. So we wanna get the whole picture first before we really kind of land on some things that we think would be useful and helpful.
So, and just to clarify, one of the tie-ins from the Danielson framework into student discipline is we know that if students are engaged and they're challenged and they're in a structured environment, there's less opportunity for them to have behaviors. And so that's where when you do walkthroughs, things you're looking for are, you know, we're watching the teacher to see, okay, well, what is the structure of their classroom? How are they engaging their students? How are they, you know, are their students engaged? How are they redirecting students? You know, all of those are skill sets, right? It's, any one of us can walk into a classroom and it can get out of hand really quickly, you know, like just watch me in a kindergarten classroom. I mean, it goes from 0 to chaos like that. And what happens in chaos is students have an opportunity then to demonstrate behaviors that they otherwise wouldn't in a more structured environment. And so that's where it all comes back to, is how are we. Now, we're never going to get back to 0 because students are students, they're children, and they will make silly decisions regardless of the environment that they're in, you know, and some of them will just do it because they're ornery, and some of them will do it because they have a legitimate issue, either, you know, physically or mentally or socially. And so, but what we're trying to do is we're trying to ensure that all of our classrooms and all of our teachers have the tools they need to successfully redirect students and create atmospheres that are conducive to student learning, and not some that are, you know, that will foster that negative environment. So
Yeah, this one's a lot about those expectations, those structures. You can see from some of the pictures, like lots of places we saw where people have like their classroom contracts up, you know, and their kids have like signed it or whatever. Lots of places too, you see the partner work where teachers are very explicit about what the directions are. Like when kids are transitioning to activities, like, okay, now here's the things that we're gonna look for and that you're gonna do. So just a lot of like pre-teaching things, and we saw a lot of really, really good stuff in classrooms, so it was exciting. And then this I just want to share too is just that, so you guys can see, like, I just always like to think of the systems and how everything kind of intertwines, but just thinking about our instructional coaches, we meet all day once a month. And so this is transferred over to the coaches too. So we've taken the DLT goals, and then as coaches, we work to think about like, what are some of the high leverage moves that we can do as coaches that support things in literacy and that support things in student behavior. So it was really cool to see them talk through, again, a lot of things that they're already doing, but how can we maybe like focus or highlight some of those things to support this work. And so coaches are doing a lot around building up their own skills. They are doing a lot with modeling instruction, guiding conversations, doing a lot with teacher collaboration. So it's just kind of neat to bring this through to them too and have everything in alignment. So again, we're trying to keep everybody rowing in the same direction, keep the goals clear, shared language, and make sure we coordinate next steps together. So next month, what I want to bring to you guys is just see how that alignment goes a little bit deeper with literacy. So we're right in the middle of literacy curriculum review, really kind of laying a solid foundation for that. And there's a lot of connections with that too, just what we're doing tier 1 with instruction, and we've got this district literacy plan that's in the works. So I'll bring you that next month. Any questions on any of that?
I just think it's great that you're using the same when it comes to the language for every school, because that will help to streamline everything as they move in through the grades.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see that that's up there.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Hartman.
Okay, then we will move on to 6.02, Superintendent Report. Dr. Azing?
So I'm going to I sent you an email, Dr. Hartman, if you can pull that up. If we can zoom in on that piece right there. There we go. Okay, so in talking with Project Advocates, they've kind of typed out this timeline. I was asking about CMR. This is the proposed timeline. I just want to get your feedback on it. There's nothing that needs to necessarily be approved because it's just creating the timeline and then kind of the selection criteria that we'll then proceed with. So here's proposed timeline, 10/20. Again, you guys, it's not an approval. It's just you guys are just having a conversation. Let me know kind of what your feedback is on this. And then tomorrow we will put out, and he's already sent it to Emma to put on their website, more of a notification of that we're seeking a CMR, and then here's the selection criteria. And then on 11/5, then we'll actually submit the request for statements of qualification and publicly advertise. So this is usually, the reason you have this gap is because on 10/21, we'll put out a statement that says we're looking for CMRs. They'll contact us, we'll get a list, and then they'll send out kind of the, kind of that RFP, kind of that recommendation for proposal after that. It kind of helps kind of them to kind of weed it out a little bit. And then they will, and then we'll do a public opening with their qualifications. And then one of those days, we're gonna meet to evaluate which firms meet the qualification criteria. This will be kind of the smaller committee, so I'll have the three individuals, and you guys, the reorg meeting's not until December, so it'll be the same three people that will meet regardless how the election shakes out, meet to kind of go through the people who submitted, the firms who submitted the information, and then we'll send another issue request if we have any more additional information we need, and then they'll send back proposals, and then we'll meet to evaluate and select the firm. And so that will be the board. So we'll actually have them come in, the finalists will come and interview before the board, and then the board will kind of just make a final decision on that. So recommendation for selected criteria. Number one is experience with projects similar size and scope. So because of the complexity of the middle school addition, we need to find an organization who has dealt hopefully with quite a few remodels of older buildings. Doesn't necessarily have to be a school, but needs to be something that has that same level of complexity. Past performance, obviously, that's one of the things that project advocates will do, is make sure that they will go through and vet the firms to make sure that their past performance was acceptable. Safety record, proposed personnel, and then proposed methodology to manage the project. So, and then all of that will be presented back to you guys for final approval. So, but again, what it looks like is we'll issue kind of a wide open, anybody can apply. The small group or the ad hoc committee will determine who the finalists are. We'll send back out information for more information, say this is your, final notice, and then meet back with their final proposals. So, you guys have any concerns or questions about that timeline or about the recommended selection criteria?
I don't want to speed up the process, but do they feel confident that that 12-10 will give them enough time to do what they need to do before the summer of 2026?
Yeah, because you guys approved the architect contract at the last meeting, so they've already gotten going. So the architects are going. They want them involved just to the point where they can start, basically have like a 2-month period where they can look at the plans that the architect's starting to develop and then go through and pick them apart and say this works, this doesn't work. So it's good because it gives the architects a little bit of a head start. So.
I was thinking kind of the same thing you were as to, do we have anything that we propose for next year that's going to be starting like right up on top of it? And as far as I can tell, no. So. Any other questions, comments?
I will say that it will be interesting because one company I know of that reached out about being a CMR and talking with them a little bit, the first reaction is, you want to do how much next summer? And I said, they're like, that's, you want to do $7.5 million worth of work in that building next summer? And I said, well, yeah, we just did, $13 million of work this summer out here. And he's like, that will be a challenge. And so he said, just be prepared that you might end up having to, it might be a 2-summer situation, or his recommendation, he's like, or you can get a swing school. And I was like, there's no swing school. We're not doing that. There's no place to go with the swing school. So he was joking, but, so anyway, just, I will be interested to get that person selected in here, because architects always have a timeline, and then the construction guys actually know what the timeline is. So it'll be interesting to see when we select one and they get in here and they start talking about that timeline, start picking it apart, what that actually starts looking like.
Well, and
So,
it is a very complex
yeah,
project. When you come to remodeling is one thing. All the different levels just brings a whole new complexity to it.
yeah,
And you're talking about major size equipment, putting in the elevators and blowing out walls to do larger stairwells. I mean, that's a lot, but
Right.
hopefully we can do that without interrupting school as minimal as we can.
right. And the major thing on the agenda for tonight is the middle school renovation scope and services. So, we'll get into that in just a quick second, so. Other things, just general updates. Playgrounds, so obviously we knew that we opened the craft playground. They came and presented to us at the last meeting. And then Titan Hills playground is, the small playground's open, and they're already kind of running at the field portion of it, and then already taking down equipment in the big playground. So we should start seeing stuff erected there very soon. I'm excited to get that done. The tennis courts are almost 100% done. They're super nice. I know Mr. Dermody was walking out there today. We got a couple nets to put up and just some grading and stuff around the exterior and a little bit of fencing. And then we gotta, get the bleachers in and outside of that, that project will be wrapped up. And then we're, moving forward with the HVAC stuff at Titan Hill, so that's another one that's already been kind of in the works. And then everything else is now we're just back in planning mode, because once kids are in the building, it's hard to actually do work, so. Outside of those projects, those are tennis court. I guess one of the projects we will do is, we are turning in plans to the city for the, to renovate the old tennis court into a parking lot until they determine what they want to do in Harry Langdon, and we get that through lane. So it shouldn't be that big of a deal. It essentially involves taking down the fence, taking the top layer of, scraping the top layer of, it's like a little surfacing layer that, for the tennis. Maybe putting a sealant on the asphalt that's underneath, filling in the cracks, and then striping it. So it's not a huge project, but it will add 72 parking spots. So that'll be,
That was 82.
it's down to 72 now because they had to change the dimensions a little bit for the
Oh.
turn radius.
For my
So,
pickup.
yeah, so your pickup can fit now. So. Yep.
Back in and out. That's all you can do.
Yeah. So yeah, but 72 spots, I'll tell you, that'll be a game changer. That's when you come to any home event and we don't have any parking, 72 spots will go a long way. So
Has the Titan Hill playground officially been graduated from the boring playground?
it has. They love it. Yeah.
They don't
yeah.
call it the boring playground
No, they
anymore?
don't.
Good.
No, they've had a couple. They're kind of rough on it. We had something break on it today, so they think they have to order us a whole new, which is good. That's why you go with a reputable company, because, you know, the warranty issues, but, yeah, so the tall spinner, they're just gonna replace the whole spinner, because we've had two things break on it, and they're like, that's enough, we're just gonna replace the whole spinner, and I'm like, all right, sweet, whatever, so, the kids be a little gentler on it, so. Yep, and that's, I do have an update here. IASB State Conference, I just want you guys to put in your notes here, November 19th to the 21st. I know that a few of you are in limbo here until the election's done, but if you are interested in attending, you know, probably in the next few weeks, you know, or if you're waiting for the election, as soon as the election's done, let me know and we can get you registered. If you're interested in going to the IASB conference, November 19th to the 21st, the conference is actually on the 20th. 19th pre-conference, the 21st is the, they do it like a president's deal on the 21st, right? Or what is that? There's something on that
Yeah, they
Friday.
do more the president's
Yeah.
and superintendent and.
Yeah.
Well, they do a superintendent-president breakfast at some time.
I think that's on Thursday or Wednesday morning or something. I
Right,
can't remember.
Right.
And then, last thing is we do have our official enrollment count, so we are down a little bit this year. A lot of it's just timing, because kids moving in and out so often, we could be down right now and then in 3 weeks be back up. So it's not down tremendous amount, you know, in the teens. Versus last year, we started off up and then we were down and then we were up at the end of the year. We're still both 3-year and 5-year trajectories are both, our averages are both still up. So, it's just one of those things. That October 1st count date is primarily for budgetary concerns, but, you know, we're not too worried about, that's a very minor fluctuation. So, now if we'd been down like 80 kids, I'd be like, oh no, we're in trouble, but no, we're not, so, it's fine.
Okay.
That's it.
Anything for Dr. Hazen? I do have one question for you.
All right.
Government shutdown, does that impact this at all?
Not necessarily, because we're, you know, 90% of our funds come from state-derived funds or locally derived funds, so the federal government shutting down doesn't really, outside of, the timing for some delivery of funds might be off a little bit, but we typically get that on a quarterly basis, so it's not like we have funds flowing through on a regular basis anyway, so, obviously, we don't want to shut down forever, but, you know,
We're good?
it's not bothering us right now.
Okay.
It's more from like our reporting standpoint, you know, we got some reporting that we have to do at the federal level that it's just kind of in limbo right now, which is okay because it's not due, so. but.
All right, we'll move into discussion items. So 7.01, middle school renovation scope and services.
Okay, so if you scroll down for me, please. So this is the contract that BCDM, this is a standard AIA contract that all architects give. They're requesting 7.5%, which is very average for architects. The bigger projects you do, you can get closer to a 7%, but this is considered like an intermediate size, so the standard 7.5. The other thing is the complexity makes it a little bit different too. Anything we've paid up until now, because they have been billing us as they've been doing all of our meetings and doing all of our pre-drawings and our scope and that kind of stuff, any of that will actually, that we've actually paid, will go towards that 7.5%. So they will take that, they'll discount all that back to us. The fee structure 7.5%, it gets paid out on a schedule. If you go down a little bit here, right there. So you'll see in the schematic design, 15% is they're kind of this, what they're doing right now is considered schematic design. And then the design development phase, you'll see 25% of it go out through that, 35% will go through construction documents, and then there's a building phase and a construction phase. And so it's not like we pay them all up front, but they do have, certain milestones that they reach, and then we pay them out that percentage. So if you keep scrolling down, down to the scope, keep going, down, right here. So if you look at the scope, this is the same thing that we presented last week, except that I had them adjust just a few things here. So you'll see, to talk to Director Sturm's comments about it being a very complicated renovation, you'll see there's literally stuff for everybody in here. We got, some envelope repair, which is the exterior of the building. We have mechanical items, if you continue to go down. We have finish updates. We have accessibility, circulation. This is your ADA stuff. And you'll see in there, we have replacing existing lifts and adding a new lift, an enclosure at the auditorium lobby. I talked about this a little bit last time. This is actually the staircase that goes from the upper level to the lower level when you're in the auditorium atrium. That is where this lift will go. So it'll actually replace that staircase, which is fine because we have another staircase about 30 feet into the hallway on the right side. So and that's where all the kids use anyway, and hardly anybody uses the stairway. So that's where the new lift will go. Stairway modification, so we actually will have potentially a small addition that goes on the exterior of the building right there just to blow that out, because right now it's essentially a residential staircase. It's like one up, one down type of deal. So when we send, 250 7th grade kids to use that every day, that gets pretty crowded. So that was the number one pinch point, as talked about by that was a concern of the staff, and really by a wide margin. And so we're looking to fix that pinch point, fix up the skywalk, so that way it doesn't, doesn't leak, it's just a good space. And then ramp modifications at the special ed wing. So that is actually that main hallway that runs from the entry of the building back to the gym. There's it's kind of a split hallway right now with like a ramp on one side and stairs on the other. I think the idea there is to kind of just make it all one flowing ramp and just eliminate the stairs altogether, because there's really no need for them. And then renovation of the front entry, renovation of the girls' locker room, so that will actually turn the girls' locker room into a girls' and a boys' locker room, and we'll abandon the boys' locker room on the other side and turn that into the storage area. But part of the reason that number is so big is because in order to do it, we need to blow out walls in the basement, which could include some headers and some different things in order to make it large enough to accommodate both boys and girls. So, and then the auditorium seating replacement, that's just fixing the broke seats that are in there. Full student locker replacement. So all of our lockers that are in the hallways right now that run up and down the hallways, they're obsolete. They're we can't find parts for them, we're fabricating parts, or trying to, and it's becoming a nightmare. So, replacing those lockers, and then, the gym bleacher seating replacement, so that's replacing, we don't have to replace the mechanical portions of the bleachers are good, it's just replacing the plastic fronts on them to be new plastic fronts. And then, if you look below that, you'll see the middle school lighting upgrade. So all of the actual renovation falls within that $7.5 million. And again, all of these numbers includes contingency, and they're all elevated. There will be a lot of flexibility in this, hopefully. I mean, who knows with the current economic conditions, but the hope is that 7.5 is high, and then we can go back and add some things to it, as we move along. But we just don't want to say this is all we're going to do, and then we don't have enough money and then we can't do it. So at a minimum, you'll get what you get up there. And then the middle school lighting, so we had $300,000 set aside to do all the middle school lighting anyway, which is just changing all the lights to LED. That was going to be a separate project, but having two different contractors coordinate with each other with all the different work that's going on with this just didn't make sense. So we'll actually order the lights ourselves, so we don't pay any overhead, we don't pay any design fees or anything on the ordering of the lights. And then this budget number will go into the contract that we'll give out to the CMR, because then they have to navigate and, who's installing the lights in relation to the HVAC systems, in relation to the ceilings, in relation to carpet and painting and everything else that's going on in the classroom. So it just made more sense to just try to combine everything. So that's why you'll see we are above the 7.5 budget, and the only reason is because we're combining two projects. So,
Any questions, comments?
No, just to be clear, in the middle school, it is required that they use the lockers. I know in high school it is not required, but middle school it is. So that's why you see the full locker replacement there.
yeah.
Okay, we'll move to 7.02, ERC security camera quote.
So one of the things with us changing the lane, and we've had a couple accidents down on the lane, and we've had some different things. We don't have any exterior cameras that go around the ERC right now. So I would like to add cameras on all four corners, so that way we can see the drive coming up, we can see Harry Langdon Highway down there, we can see the intersection right over here, we can see the ball field, we can see the backside of the parking lot, we can see our parking lot, and then we can see this area out behind us. It's just for safety reasons. And then as well, we actually have a camera in here, but we're gonna replace that one because that one's you can't hardly see anything out of it. And then it will be adding one in our main entry here that kind of goes down the hallway because we have nothing out here in the vestibule or in the entry area. And then another one on that side of the hallway as well. So a couple interior cameras, so 3 interior cameras, and then 4-ish exterior cameras. Some are multi-head cameras, so we get different angles. So, but yep. So the total price for all of that, and then part of it's a video archiver. That will. Right now, all of our footage is stored down at the middle school, or our footage is stored at Titan Hill, which means that it gets sent to the middle school and then sent back to Titan Hill, and they just want us to have our own storage system. So in case something goes down at the middle school or at Titan Hill, then our cameras still store in our safe here. So that's about $6,000. So because it's not just buying the piece of equipment, it's programming it, it's creating the rack, it's making everything work here at the building. So total cost of $33,757. This was, I would classify this as part of our bond work in updating our security systems. So.
And this is the same company that we use for CREF?
Correct. Yep.
The other.
How soon would this?
They're planning on doing the parking lot cameras like end of November, and they think that this would be they can get this done kind of the same time frame.
Okay.
So by the end of November.
Any other discussion? Okay, then we will move to the second portion of our meeting where we open the floor to comments and suggestion. Do we have anyone online? Okay, we'll give it a minute. Okay. Then we will move to action items. 9.01, middle school renovation scope and services.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I'd like to make the motion to approve the middle school renovation scope and services agreement with BCDM.
Second.
Vote, please.
Mrs. Peterson,
Yes.
Mrs. Shuffle,
Yes.
Mr. Sorensen,
Yes.
Mr. Sturm,
Yes.
and Mr. Wright.
Yes. 9.02, ERC security camera quote.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the quote from Prime Secured for ERC security cameras for $33,757.77.
Second.
Vote, please.
Mrs. Peterson,
Yes.
Mrs. Shuffle,
Yes.
Mr. Sorensen,
Yes.
Mr. Sturm,
Yes.
and Mr. Wright.
Yes. Items of interest, future board meetings. 10.01, we have a board candidate forum on October 22nd. Do you want to speak anything to that? Or?
Nope, just starts at 5:30, and candidate forum will be from 5:30 to 6. It's just a meet and greet, and that's kind of hosted by the chamber, and then from 6 to 7:30 will be the on-stage forum hosted by the student council. So a series of questions be asked, everybody will have an opportunity to answer the questions. If there's time left over, we can take a few questions from the audience, but doors will open at 5:15 to let people into the building, and then you can attend, and there will also be a live video broadcast. So we'll be able to, so you can watch it from the comfort of your home if you want. So I know these guys are super pumped about
Can't
that.
wait.
I think Alec and I are glad we get to sit this one out, so. All right, then 10.02, our next regularly scheduled board meeting is November 3rd, 2025. Any addition on that now?
Nope, that's it. The only thing I did want to point out, because I forgot to in good things, was Miss Emma Schwaller. If you look around the room here and across district office, you'll see that we have all these beautiful new pictures. So I wanted to give her a shout out. So, and they're with students that currently attend our school, or just recently attended our school, not attended a long time ago attended our school. So thank
Nice
you,
job.
Emma, for doing that.
Very good job.
Okay, then having no other items on the agenda, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those